Hello friends, Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for another this and that video where I get to talk about what's been going on this week, what I've got to get done, and to direct you back to some old videos you may not have seen yet of how I do some of the various things that I do. Now, I want to talk first about vinegar. I have lots and lots and lots of vinegar making videos, but my vinegar making has progressed in the past 3 years since I started my channel, and I do things a little bit differently, but I also am always trying to just to make the most of different things that I have or things that are coming in and I just have lots of and I don't know what to do with. And so I'm always experimenting, and also for the various different things I use vinegar for. Soon I'll be shooting yet another video on making vinegar and how I do it. And this one will be more of a fruit-based one because I don't have any new ones out that are just on fruit. I have a couple, the last ones I did that are more recent, and how I do it now are more about how I do it with herbs, but I want to show you some different ideas with fruit. But today I want to talk a little bit about just some of the things you can do. Now, this is when I've started. I'm not done adding to it. And what I've got going on here is that this is that time of year you can get mangoes, like at Costco. Costco's carrying those really good mangoes that I like so much. And you know how it is with mangoes. It's hard to be able to cut away the fruit from the pit and the peel and not sacrifice some of the fruit. So what I like to do is add the pit and the peels to a jar for making vinegar. Now you'll see at the top here, you'll see some green as well. Those are just some apples that have pruned themselves from my apple tree. They're just a little too small and too tart. Well, I'd still eat them. However, I just figure make the most of them, cut them up and add them to the vinegar. So this is going to be an apple mango vinegar. Now I have another one that I started that's a little farther along than this one. I'll put a picture of it right here. In this picture I actually had just got it going. However, that one's more full of the peels and pits. Now I'll be eating a mango today for lunch, so I have one more mango to work through, and I'll be adding the peels and the pit to this batch here, and then I'll be done. Now, I do get a lot of questions all the time on vinegars, and I do want to answer a couple things now. I do have a video I did a while back, but I want to redo it since I've updated the way I make my vinegars, and I want to add some more things to it. So be watching in the future for another Q&A vinegar video to come out. But one of the things I want to talk about real quick is that I had somebody comment asking me about wondering what they did wrong with their vinegar. They tried to make pineapple vinegar and it didn't do anything. It ended up being very watery. And well, then they also said that they didn't add any sugar to it. Well, you would have to add quite a bit of fruit to be able to get enough sugar to make a strong vinegar. So you gotta have sugar to make vinegar. You just have to do it. And I know what a lot of people are thinking, this big sugar scare that's going on, which is understandable. I'm not trying to belittle it. However, because of the big sugar scare, everybody's afraid to ingest sugar of any kind. What's happening now is people are trying to find shortcuts to get away from sugar in places that sugar really is necessary. And vinegar is one of them. You have to have sugar in order to, it's got to have something to convert into vinegar. So don't be afraid to add sugar. You're going to need it, because what's going to happen, it's still going to be, there's not going to be any sugar left in it when the process is done. It's not something to be afraid of, because the vinegar, what happens is the yeast and the bacteria this is what we call an acetic ferment, is turning that sugar into vinegar. But it has to have the sugar to do that. Same thing applies to wine. The difference is, instead of going from sugar to vinegar, it's going from sugar to wine. Wine's actually sort of the in-between stage between sugar and vinegar, but without exposure to oxygen, it can't turn to vinegar. And this is also another reason why stirring is recommended, especially daily. It'll help add more oxygen to your vinegar as you stir it in there. You're also pushing down your herbs and your fruit and getting it all worked back in there and preventing mold growth on the top. Not that I worry about mold. When I first started making vinegars, I tried to find numerous different ways to keep things weighted down without having to spend a lot of money on those expensive weights. And then I just gave up because I realized I could lift the molded stuff off the top, and anything that falls in the vinegar is going to get killed by the vinegar, especially once it's done, because you'll notice the mold is only on the parts that are exposed to the air. However, if you stir it every day, or stir it even every other day, it's going to push all that stuff down. It's not going to have a chance to mold at all. And just keep up on it. So, and then eventually all the stuff will, as the process goes, a lot of the stuff will just stay down at the bottom and won't lift up to the top. Make sure you add the sugar, and I really recommend going with the stir method. Put your vinegars in a place where you're going to see them, or write yourself a note so that you remember to stir it on a regular basis. Even every other day I find to be plenty, but every day, the more you do it, the better actually. So moving on from the vinegar topic, one of the things I keep meaning to talk about in my videos, I finally found raisins. Hopefully I can keep these, they will keep offering these, because it's so hard to find a really good organic raisins. And I won't buy raisins that are not organic, because things like strawberries, peppers, and grapes are all things that are like really high at the top of the list for most contaminated by pesticides and chemical fertilizers. So I always try to go organic when it comes to any of these things. Well, I finally found these, and hopefully they'll keep carrying these. I've tried some at my local store, and while they were okay, they just weren't near as good as these ones. I mean, I'd love to be able to buy them local, but I'm just having a hard time. So here's what the package looks like. I got these from Amazon. So far not in the Subscribe and Save program. I hope they get them in there, but I will link to them below. These ones are really good. So hopefully by the time you see this video, they'll still have them if you're looking for a good organic raisin. And these things are plump, I'm telling you. So I'm going to put a picture right here, but I'm also going to take they're a nice good size raisin. Now the ones I got at the store are actually bigger than these. You can see right there, pretty decent size. The ones I got at the store are bigger than these, but they just don't taste near as good. They're not quite as soft as these ones are. I just love these, and we don't usually sit around and eat raisins, but Patrick tried this and he really liked these. And he's not huge into just sitting and eating raisins. He usually likes them with things, like when I make the homemade chocolate and I use raisins as the sweetener and I don't add any sugar. And that's what was one of my favorite ways to make chocolate. It's just basically the three ingredients: the cacao powder, the cacao butter, and then the raisins, and that's all you need, and you just have a really tasty and healthy chocolate. So I have a recipe on that. I'll go ahead and link to right up here. Okay, now I wanted to talk a little bit about my coffee extract. Now I have a video on how I made this. I'll go ahead and link to up here. Now I was talking in one of my last videos about trying out my extract to make a cream pie using the coffee extract. I do plan on doing a video showing you how I made my new creation, which is a mocha cream pie, and it turned out really good. And I did use the coffee extract in the whipped cream topping that I made, and it was really good. So I will link to my how to make your own whipped cream right up here. It's super easy, and you can use any of your flavored extracts that you've made to flavor your whipped cream. So I've been experimenting with different kinds, and it's really good. So give that a try if you're even if you're just going to put it as a topping on something like the pancake one, the one I did with the apple cinnamon, using the dehydrated apples to make a pancake topping, and then putting the whipped cream on top. Really good. So then another thing is I'm going to be making some more popsicles today. I did just put a video out, well, I say just, but it should be fairly recent, on making the currant blueberry and rhubarb popsicles. So these are some rhubarb pieces I froze this year. I'm going to go out and collect some more rhubarb, cut it up and freeze it. because I really like what happens once I freeze the rhubarb. It makes it so much easier for using in making homemade popsicles especially, but it also is really great for adding to your pies. And I will be doing a recipe video on my blueberry currant rhubarb pie eventually. I'm just waiting for a chance, because I don't just make pies for us to sit around and eat, because, well, it's not a good idea. So I usually wait till I have some kind of event going on where I'm going to be making a pie. Same thing with the mocha cream. So anyway, today it's going to be this. I have a recipe video on how I made these, and I'll link to that up here. But I also want to share with you another idea. One of our other favorites is to get a really ripe cantaloupe and then cut that up. Add your half and half or whipping cream and a little bit of sugar, and it makes a really good popsicle. So you put it in your blender just like I did in this recipe video here. I'll put a picture here of the last batch of cantaloupe creamsicles I made. Really good. They're just, if you like cantaloupe, you'll love those. Okay, so one more video that I'll be able to share up here. I'm going to need to make my jet fueled latte blend. Again, I'll link to my recipe up here, but I've changed it up a little bit because I got, I get a little bit tired of stuff, and I don't even drink this every day. And what I do now is I actually add it to my tea from the night before. So every night I brew a pot of herbal tea, and then the next morning, whatever's left over, I will heat back up on either on the wood stove or on my hot plate hooked to our solar power, and then I will add my jet fueled latte blend to that. So one of the changes I've made is adding more cacao powder and cutting back a little bit on the ashwagandha and the maca root. Now, ashwagandha and maca root powder are really good if you have any kind of thyroid issues. These are going to be very helpful. I mean, I believe any kind. I know it's just very good for the thyroid, but especially if you have hypothyroidism where your thyroid is low. So remember, we took ourselves off our medication. We've been off for at least 7 years. I think maybe it's 8. I don't know, but I know it's for sure at least 7 years. And so one of the ways we did this is by making this, and this was what we'd have in the morning as our coffee replacement. Patrick still drinks coffee, and I still have coffee sometimes. Sometimes I just crave more the flavor of coffee, but I don't need it for the caffeine. I just like the flavor of plain black coffee. So sometimes I'll still have that, but most of the time this is what I have. So I need to get some more made, because I always like to have another jar ready to go. And anyway, I'm just kind of cutting back on those and adding more cacao powder for the flavor. I've really liked. And I think this time what I'm going to do is just do the ashwagandha, the maca root, and the cacao powder. And then I can just add the mixed spice blend as I feel, if I want it. That way it gives me more options when I'm working with that. And then another thing I really want to talk about, and I know I can't be the only person that's thought of this, but I've never heard of anyone doing this before. It just came to me one day. And if you've already been doing this, go ahead and comment below and share with me, because I'm curious how many people already have thought of this idea. Because like I said, I know I can't be the only one. If you get a natural peanut butter that doesn't have all the junk added into it that keeps it from the oil from separating from the solids, then you'll know that when you go to open your peanut butter, all the oil sits on top. It can be such a pain to mix it in. Well, I've started doing this with my peanut butter. So I get the Costco organic peanut butter. This is actually my favorite so far. Even though it's a little on the runny side, I just love it. And the way I use peanut butter anyway, I don't really do peanut butter sandwiches and stuff. I usually use it more as a dip, or like to put on ice cream or whatever, or to blend into different things. And so I really like their organic peanut butter. But anyway, storing your peanut butter upside down makes a huge difference. So what's going to happen is the oils, the solids will sink to the top, which is currently the bottom, and then the oils will go up here, so that when you invert it, it is so much easier to mix all that together. And it's like, why didn't I think of that sooner? And so it was just, I just got the peanut butter, and I thought, I went to put it away, and I just said, why am I not storing this upside down? And did that. And then when I went to pull it out to open it up, I was like, yay, this works just as I hoped it would. So great way to store your peanut butter to make it easy to mix. All right, and then, oh, and I wanted to show you my cute little colander. Now, I know I already just talked about this in my part 3 of my garage sale finds for 2019, but I wanted to mention it again because I'm loving this little stainless steel, and this is really well made, very nice colander. But I've actually been using it to collect my snow peas. And just this morning I collected some nasturtium flowers, some golden oregano, and some marshmallow flowers to put on my dehydrator. Really great deal. So if you're interested in my garage sale finds, I'll go ahead and put a link at the end of this video, right along in here, on my playlist of secondhand finds. Now it's going to have like my top favorite secondhand finds. It's going to have secondhand finds from 2018. It's going to have the ones from 2019. So you can find them all. But you'll also find, if you go to the bottom of the list, you should be able to find my most recent video in there where I talk about this and some of the other stuff, if you like that kind of stuff. Okay, and then one more thing I want to mention is for a great stain remover. This will work good for carpets, for countertops if you have like a standard Formica countertop. I mean, one of these days, maybe down the road, if we ever redo this again, I might do something that doesn't stain as badly. But with all the stuff I do around here, and I don't know where some of these stains come from. I'm going to put some pictures right here so you can see. I honestly don't know. It's just like all of a sudden there's a stain, and where did this come from? And you know, always trying to find the most natural, simple ways to do things. And what I have found that baking soda and peroxide work really good. So what I do is I'll put a pinch of baking soda on top of the stain and then drizzle just a tiny bit of peroxide and then make a paste out of it and just kind of rub it in there lightly and then just let it sit for several minutes and then come back and wipe it off and the stain is gone. This is just a really great way to get rid of stains. It also works really good in carpets, but you must be careful because don't leave it too long. It can actually bleach it out. That goes also for the countertop, but especially for your carpets. So if you're going to try this on anything, clothing, carpets, countertops, do a test spot first and see how it's going to work. But I find it works excellent. So if I'm doing it on my carpet, I'll sprinkle the baking soda right there on the stain and then drizzle the peroxide over the top, let it sit for a few minutes, and then I take my carpet cleaner and I just go right over it. Now, I don't know that Amazon's still carrying the same carpet cleaner that I bought years ago, but to me it was just a great deal to buy one for $100. Is what it was at the time. And then I can have it handy whenever I need it, especially when we had the 2 puppies. And yeah, it was really nice. Sometimes I was running that thing every day, but it was really nice having my own carpet cleaner. But I'll go ahead and link to that below if you're interested. I think it's Hoover is the brand. But anyway, that's one really great way you can get some of those stubborn stains out of your carpet. If you ever get tar in your carpet, don't use Goo Gone. I made that mistake. We had tar in our carpet and I sprayed some Goo Gone on there and it worked beautifully. It worked really great getting the tar out of the carpet. I was so glad. However, what it will also do, and even though I thought I cleaned it up right away, is it will loosen the glue that's in the carpet that's holding everything together, and then you'll end up with a raised up spot on your carpet. Now I've noticed that I had 2 spots that happened to. I've noticed that they did finally flatten out over time, but I'm sure they're still loose. So don't go with the Goo Gone if it's a carpet like that, because you may destroy your carpet. Okay, well there's my this and that video for the week, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.